rolling.
All right, hello YouTube. We are here in Hawaii today. I've got this Ohia log that we're planning on slabbing out, but I've got an issue and came up with a solution. We're going to give it a try and see what you guys think. But what we've got here is my homemade mill guide, and if you take a look here, what we did is we just put some 10-foot tubing and just made our own little brackets, and we're using the Granberg anchor here, and so this is pretty stout. It's great, but as you'll look and you can take a look at the log here, obviously this is way shorter than the log, so this isn't going to work. I think the log is a little over 12 feet and these rails are 10 feet. So in order to get my start, we want a little bit of room on the top end to get the mill started, and we don't have that. So I'm going to show you here in a second the solution for that. Alright, so the solution that I've came up with, and we'll call it a solution, I haven't actually done it yet, so if I actually post this video then it'll work. So we've got this rail on there, which we already established is too short. I'm going to go ahead and put the ladder on top of the rail. Okay, so to start out, we'll have the ladder hanging over the log to get the mill started. But as you can see, the ladder is also too short. But since we're already on the rail, the theory here is that we'll start the cut, we'll come in to a certain point, say the halfway point, and then we can take the chain out and move the ladder down this plane. All right, so the base rails are going to stay in the same place, and in theory here the ladder is going to be able to be moved mid-cut to give us more length. So in just a second I'll show you how we're going to anchor this down and make sure it stays straight. Tension on it, it'll mess it up.
Rolling.
Okay, don't put tension on that mic. There you go. Alright, so here we go. We have the ladder on the rails like I showed you a second ago, and from this camera view you can see, we don't have this thing fastened yet, but you can see that the ladder rails and the guide rails here are more or less parallel. So if we start this cut, it's going to be important for us to keep this same parallel, but if we don't do some math and measure, if we reset the ladder and for example we skew the ladder like this, it's going to change the plane of the bar and it's going to change the slab. It's not going to give us what we want. So what we need to do is we'll set this up, and I'll show you a close-up here of how we're going to do that, how we're going to anchor it, and then when we relocate it, how we're going to make sure that these rails and these rails stay true and parallel in the same plane. Ready? Good? Okay. Alright, so when I said do math a second ago, I didn't really mean math. We just really need to do some measurements. So in order to ensure that, again, these rails are parallel to these rails, simply, we're just going to take tape and measure from the inside of the ladder rail to the center point of the guide rail. And for this setup, I'm just going to call that 4 inches. So I'll scoot that over until I'm on the center line of the guide rail at exactly 4 inches. Now what I'll probably do is mark the center line with a Sharpie at this point and at the other secure points. I'm not going to have to measure off of this side, I'm only going to measure off of one side, and because it's really simple. If this side's 4 inches and the other side's 4 inches, then we're good to go. So once I have that secured, then we're going to take, once we have that measured, we're going to take a hose clamp, really simple, and we're just going to wrap that around the guide rail and over onto the ladder rung. And once we have that on there, we'll cinch this down ever so swiftly. All right, let's pretend I did that. Before you cinch it all the way down, though, I think it's a good idea to double check that measurement, make sure exactly where you want to be. So we'll do 2 clamps up here. Excuse the road noise a second. So we'll put 2 clamps at this end. We'll secure that. And then on the far end of the ladder, we'll do the same thing at 2 more points. So we'll end up having four points where we're secured. And then once you have that secured, down here you can see I've got one secured. Can you see that, Alex? And once that's secured, you know, this ladder isn't going anywhere. So we'll, you know, we'll check this out in a couple weeks. I've got some parts coming in for my chainsaw. And we'll get that on video for you too, and if this works out, we'll share it with you.